Yes, I made it. I'm here. Okay, so 3 different categories. That is charging, programming and controls. And in this about 15 to 20 minutes presentation, I will demonstrate to you the answers to the questions in the worksheets. Now, if you do have any questions, do not hesitate and leave your answer in the chat. Yeah? In the meanwhile, Cornelis will try to answer them, and maybe if there's an interesting topic that I could demonstrate to you, I will absolutely do that. Now, the first question that we have just read in the worksheet is about locking and unlocking. Now, unlocking it is just pressing the lid, and the huge lid, I do have to say it's quite big, can be opened. Now, locking the lid is the same way as with an internal combustion vehicle. So when you have the key fob, you lock the doors, the lid is locked as well. Now, there's also a question about the light illuminating. And Danny, maybe you can have a bit of a close-up of the connector port. And this on the inside, that is where the LED light is. And depending on the situation, it will illuminate in different colors. Now, on the inside of the lid, that's where the information about the different LED lights is. So when it's flashing white, it is waiting for a programmed charging. When it's white and you've plugged it in, it's standby for charging. When it's flashing green, charging is in progress. When the green is constantly illuminating, charging is completed. And when it's red or amber, there is a problem. And that could be a problem with the charging system or a problem with the vehicle. Yeah? So that is fairly simple to answer. Now, another question is, when plugging in the connector, does the charging procedure start immediately? Now, if I take off the caps, this is the cable that comes with the car. You plug it in, the other end is connected to the charger. That could either be a home charger or a public charger. What will happen? Is it locked immediately? Yeah. And does the charging procedure start immediately? Well, the answer to that depends. It depends on your settings, because on your display, using the HMI commander, you can set deferred charging. So if you plug it in, it depends on your settings whether you want to charge immediately or charge later. Now, we have shot a little video about that, which we would like to show to you now, in which this is being explained. So Cornelis, could you please start the video?
Now, what if you use your car for commuting and you always leave your home at 8 in the morning and come back at 5 in the afternoon? When you come home, you immediately plug in the charge lead. However, the energy costs are lower after 9 o'clock in the evening, so you want to start charging from then on until it is fully charged. The way to do that is to choose for settings, go to EV settings, go to charging schedule, click edit, and here you can go to 2100. You can also set the end time. So let's say you want it to stop charging at 6 o'clock in the morning. Here we go. Now I can click save, but I can also say repeat, and it has now been set on weekdays. But maybe you only want that on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. So then I have to deselect Thursday and Friday. I can also set the battery charge level, and it has now been set to 70%. And the reason for that is that if you have to drive 100 kilometers, you don't need to fully charge it to 100%. And bear in mind that charging the battery until 100% has a negative effect on the quality of the battery as well. So if you don't need to fully charge it, select the battery charge level. Here we click save, and the charging schedule has been saved.
All right. Well, that explains to you the charging schedule. Now, in this program, in this setting, you can also select charge connector lock, because one of the questions is, once the connector has been plugged in, how can it be unplugged? Now here you can see charge connector lock, and here you can select locked when connected, locked when charging, or off. So if you select off, you can at any time unplug the connector lead, or it is locked when the cable is connected, or only locked when charging. So depending on the situation, you can change the setting of the charge connector lock. Now there's a few more things that I would like to bring under the attention. There's a question about the information on the display when charging. Now on the central display, when the car is being charged, there will be a vehicle with purple bars. Now, since we don't have a charger here, I will not be able to demonstrate that, but in the visuals that you have access to as well, you will be able to find that image where a vehicle and the purple bars is being shown. Now, there's also a question about locking the doors. When you're charging the car, information about charging is being displayed. When you close the door, and lock the doors, it takes a while before that screen turns off, and when you open the doors, the screen turns on again. Another question is about remotely checking your charge level, and that of course is possible with the My Mazda app. With My Mazda app, there's a number of settings and information that you can read on the app, and one of them is the charge level. Now, another question is, when charging has started, is it possible to pull out the connector? Again, that depends. It depends on the charge connector lock. Now, once you have started charging and you want to pull out the cable, and you're using a public charger, for example, you can scan your pass, and immediately the connector lock will disengage and you can pull out the cable. Now there's another question asking, what happens if you drive away with the cable connected? Now, as you would expect from a Mazda, that is not possible. If the cable is fully connected, it will not be able to take away with your car. Now you need to make sure that even when the cable is not completely connected, but it's still in the socket, there will be no blockage in the technology. So you always need to make sure that the cable is fully disconnected. Now another topic, another worksheet is about programming. So after 15 minutes, the participants have figured all this out. They rotate and start working on the next activity sheet, and that is about programming. Now, I have told you about the charge timer. We have watched the video. Now for your information, you may be interested in that video that we have just showed you. That will be available on the MX-30 website. Last Friday we sent you an invitation to log into the website. More information will be uploaded in the next couple of days, and the video is one of them. Now, if the car is being charged using the charge timer, how can you cancel it? Well, I just explained that you can scan your pass, but it is also possible to cancel the charging on your display. Not possible today, so because we will not be able to charge, but on your display, using the HMI commander, it is also possible to cancel charging. Now, another very important aspect of driving the electric vehicle, that is preheating. Now, since we have such a big battery, it is possible to activate preheating at a specific time. How to do that has also been captured in one of the videos, so Cornelis is now going to start the video that explains how to set that.
I'm planning to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning, but it's winter time and the temperature drops at night. So I want to preheat the car at 10 to 8 in the morning. So I go to EV settings. I choose climate control timer. Here I can set the departure time. So I want the car to start heating at 10 past 8, 7:50. I can also choose repeat. So if I want that to happen every day of the week, I can select the days, or maybe only on Monday and Tuesday. I can select the temperature. So let's say I want it to be heated up to 17 degrees Celsius. And I can also select front defroster and rear defroster. I select save, and the climate control timing changes have been saved.
Okay, so it's a very interesting feature, especially if you know what time you're leaving in the morning, but you can also do that remotely by using the My Mazda app. When looking at the instrument cluster, I would like to show you the gauges that are on the display, and there's a question about that in the worksheets as well. Now, it looks again very similar to our other new Mazdas, and of course there is a reason for that, because we want to make it Jin by Itai. Yeah? It's very easy to read, very common, but there are a few differences. Let me explain. On the left hand side we can see the gauge going either to charge or to power. So when you accelerate, the gauge goes to power. When you decelerate, you go to charge. Now, this is the center display, the speedometer. Yeah. This is the driving information. And here you can see the remaining range. So at the moment, the car in total has driven only 140 kilometers. The remaining range is 119 kilometers. Yeah. The percentage is 59%. And the gauge on the right visualizes that in a traditional way. Yeah, so it's just over half full. Now, interestingly, there's a temperature gauge as well. And that temperature gauge tells you about the battery temperature. Now, you may be wondering and asking yourself, I've never seen that in any other electric vehicle. And you're probably right. And to be honest, there is no real reason for informing the customer about the battery temperature, but the gauges, the whole instrument cluster is more or less the same as the CX-30. So that they have, normally it is being used for engine temperature, and they are now using it for battery temperature. Now, what could be displayed as well, that is the turtle mode. And turtle mode is also called the output restriction warning. And the turtle mode is being switched on when the battery level is very, very low. Yeah? Now, we also had a question in one of the earlier sessions about what happens when the battery goes flat. Yeah? Well, when it does go flat, you first get the turtle icon. That means that first the AC is being switched off, more electrical appliances are being switched off to save energy, and at the final stage, your output is restricted as well. So even when you accelerate the vehicle, it will not accelerate anymore, but at a very low speed, you should still be able to drive to the nearest charging station. Okay, now let's have a look at the controls. So that's the next activity, that is all about the controls. The first question is about the gear shift lever, and why does it look so different compared to many other electric vehicles? Now you could also say, why does it look so similar to an ordinary car, internal combustion vehicle? And the reason for that is to make it look like a normal car, that people don't get disoriented. So even if you've never driven an electric vehicle before, you get in the car, you see the gear shift lever, and you know exactly what to do. Now there is, however, one difference, and that is the switch on the side. Now, if I'm going to switch on the car, and if I want to go from P to D, I first have to depress the side of the gear shift lever, and that allows me to go to drive. Yeah. So again, first press the brake pedal and then shift the lever. It's not the other way around. Yeah, first the brake and then the switch at the side of the lever. Now when you put it in reverse, there's a chime. That just indicates that the car is in reverse. Now, another interesting topic is regeneration. If you've watched our videos on the website, you may have seen the competitor comparison videos that we shot of the Mini and the Tesla, for example. And almost every car has the option to change the regeneration settings. Not all of them, but in the Mazda it is possible. And that can be done by using the pedals at the back of the steering wheel. So when you turn the system on, it's always in the middle position, yeah, the neutral position. When you click plus, it goes to heavier regeneration. When you click to minus, it's lighter regeneration. Now we have a video of that as well, so Cornelis, please start the video about regeneration.
The MX-30 does have different regeneration modes, and they can be operated by using the shift pedals at the back of the steering wheel. Now, when changing the modes, it will be displayed on the screen as well. So regenerative braking is limited, and you can go up again, now once the car has been switched off, it goes back to the default situation, so it doesn't keep the settings that you have changed.
Back again. So regeneration. It's very interesting. When you drive the car for the first time, you should definitely try it out. Now, there's a few practical questions in the worksheets as well. For example, what happens if you leave the vehicle, including your key fob, while the system is still engaged? And that is very likely because you don't hear the engine running. When you're driving a car with an internal combustion engine, there's always the sound of the vehicle. So that reminds you that you need to switch off the engine or press the power button. With an electric vehicle, that is not the case. So if you get out of the car, you put it in P, you get out of the car, take the key fob, you will be warned, a light will illuminate, information will be on the display, and there will also be a chime. There will be a sound. Just to remind you that the system is still engaged. Now, what happens if you leave the vehicle but the selector lever is not in P? It's still in R, for example, or in drive. Now, what will happen if I switch off the system? You will immediately see that the P indicator light illuminates. So the gear shift lever is in drive, but the system, the P is being engaged. So the transmission is blocked now. Now if you switch it on again, you will see that it's still in P, but you first need to put it back in P again and even restart the system, and then you can put it in drive. So there is a safety measure. It always puts it in P, but the lever is still in drive. Now another question in the worksheet is, does the car move forward when you release the brake pedal? So when the car is in D, you release the brake. And the answer is yes, it does. It does, and the reason for that is to make the car feel like an internal combustion vehicle, because that is what people are used to. If you've been driving an automatic vehicle, a traditional torque converter automatic vehicle, that's exactly what happens. So that's what they did to the electric Mazda as well. The car has a functionality that allows you to take your car through a car wash, and we're talking about the type of car wash where your car is being pulled through. You would normally switch off the system and put the car in neutral so the car can be pulled through. However, if you do that, the gearbox will be switched to the park position and the car cannot be pulled through. So in order to make that happen, you switch on the ignition, you put the car in neutral, you need to make sure that the auto hold functionality is switched off, and you press the electronic parking brake and hold the switch until you hear a chime. Then you press the power button and the electronic parking brake switch at the same time, and the car will automatically be switched to neutral. This remains for 25 minutes, and that should be enough time to have your car washed.